Hello, I'm William Gallagher and this is the 58 Keys Writing Workshop set of videos. Usual format is I tell you how I happen to do something and then you, please, disagree with me or at least debate it a bit in the comments. Because otherwise, what's the point? You know, that wouldn't, if you don't do that, it isn't writer to writer having a chat. It's me just mouthing off about what I already know. And I could be off writing something. And if you don't, you could be off writing something. Actually, we should both be off writing. Let's try to make this work. Comment, disagree, debate, discuss, and put off the writing for a bit. This time, I want to call this ruthless editing. This idea is actually, I think the title's mine, but the idea was suggested by Leopold Green, who's a 58 Keys Patreon member. In fact, actually, Leopold, you suggested it so long ago that you may have forgotten all about it, but it's been kind of marinating in my head ever since. The aim of editing is to, look at the quality of information you get from me. The aim of editing is to make the best piece of writing that you possibly can, whatever it is, novels, plays, script, you know what forms of writing are, William, any of them. You want to make them the best that they possibly can be, and you do it by writing them and then reworking them. I said marinating there, which is actually a word I got from the film Kissing Jessica Stein. Love that film. If you can let something marinate, let it settle and think about it for a while, great. The ideal, the routine, the cliche really is to put the manuscript in the drawer for a few weeks, a couple of months, and then come back to it fresh. And it's a cliche for, you know, the usual reason that cliches are cliches. They started out true before they got a bit boring. The truth is, yeah, when you come back to it, you'll read your writing and you will wince at some things, and you will know, you will instantly just take those out and get rid of them and be glad they're gone. And there will be other bits that you're really pleased about, and you'll think, well, I could do a bit more of that, and you will expand a bit more of that. Great. Small problem. It takes time. If you are, say you're commissioned and you've got a deadline, you may well not have that time. I mean, you suddenly hesitate there. Whenever you're commissioned for something, it's always good for a lot of reasons to start it as soon as you can. You'll find problems when you start a piece, so better to find it early than not. But in theory, I suppose what you could do is write everything faster than normal, earlier than normal, that's what I really mean, and have a gap at the end whereby you leave something and then come back to it. Fine, great, never gonna happen. When did you last do that? When did I last do it? If you can. All right, we should try. Okay, we should try. But let's just say deadline tight, piece is long, physically can't be done. Great, what do you do then? If you can't marinate on something, you can be, give it blunt force trauma on your manuscript. And I suggest that there are key areas that are likely to be a good target to start out with on editing for it. I mean, I suppose you should look overall as well. Is the whole story working? It's like a meta version of it, stepping back from the entire story. And I don't really have any advice for you on that. What I have advice is like the brutal, the kludgeon stuff of this, which starts with, I suggest, looking for any dialogue in your story. Now, I said story there, but dialogue lifts anything. I mean, obviously scripts, I identify as a script writer because I love dialogue and what it can do. Dialogue is just pregnant with the things it can bring you, but it's also able to be the really bad bit, the stuff that must go. In anything, right? In non-fiction, right? In newspapers, in pieces, quotes, dialogue, lift the whole piece. I don't know what it is. As soon as you open those speech marks, everything changes. Hopefully for the better. But what will make it a bad change is this. Does a piece of dialogue do anything except tell, anything other rather than tell the reader a bit of the plot? You know, I'm going to the shops. Dialogue that, destroy it right now. We don't need it. You never need it. We'll figure it out when they pop off down to the supermarket. Okay. Anything where you are struggling to convey some information, it looks like you're struggling to convey information, so consider not conveying the information. There may be other ways to do it. Quite likely you don't need to convey it at all, but a bad place to put it is in dialogue. So look at that. Look at how people are exchanged. If you must have plot information in the dialogue, make it do something else. Make it reveal character in some way. Have people lie. Just never have it so that a character is saying anything that the character wouldn't actually say. Anything that only serves this, I was going to say, this not a higher purpose, this other purpose of exposition. Okay, so dialogue. Do a dialogue pass, kill it. Another one I just said then about going to the supermarket. Funny that should pop into my head, because transitions and movement are also potentially death in a story. If you have any scene in any form where your character is walking down the street, is going from here to there, take it out. I've been reading a lot of script. I mean, I read scripts all the time. I was recently, for some reason, I've noticed very often, I don't always bother to read scripts and then go watch the film or the TV show. The script's enough for me. I enjoy that, and it's quicker to read. A couple of times recently when I've watched the final version, I've seen a little trim here or there, and routinely it's a movement that's gone. We've got to get to the supermarket, cut, we're in the supermarket. And actually, why else would you do it? If something happens on the way, if you're building, I'm not sure, I don't mean more plot, that they're going to get attacked on the way or something. Maybe they don't want to get there, and this is a way of showing how hard it is for them to go. A character thing, great. But straight, walk out of the office, get in the lift, get in the car, do it, go on. Just, yeah. I suddenly remember William Goldman actually writing in one of his pieces about exactly that. He had a row with the director who was shouting at him about a script that had done the thing I just said of, we've got to get to the supermarket. This is a William Goldman thriller. It's probably a bit more exciting than a supermarket, but we've got to get to the murder scene, whatever. And then cut to the murder scene, and this director was going, no, you got to show the hero, right? The hero goes out of that office, right? He goes out mad, and he goes down in the lift, he gets into the car, and then he drives across the, and then he gets out, and you've got to show all of that stuff, said this director. And I don't actually know which film it was about, I don't know which director it was, but you can be reasonably sure the director didn't direct a lot of movies after that. The movement theory, I'd like to call that, just to try to give something a name, in case I need to refer back to it later. Get rid of movement. Okay. I also, the word theory, just put this back in my head. I have a thing called, I don't know why I call this, but like the shadow theory. I don't do this so much now, but I used to, I think, overwrite stuff because I got all these ideas, got to get them out there and I'm explaining them. And on an edit pass, what I would do is I would take out a chunk and I would look to see whether or not I felt it, the shadow of it was still there. The impact of it was still there even when it was gone. And in that case, if it was gone and it still seemed to work, seemed to colour what was coming after it, well then leave it out. And if it didn't, put it back in. And presumably I thought it was dull, or I wouldn't have examined it and just try to somehow make it a little bit better. Okay. One thing is I seem to suggest you're cutting lots of things because I'm suggesting you're cutting a lot of things, but very often, in fact, whenever you not, most of the time you're trying to write to a certain length. A film has to be a certain length. You've been commissioned for an article that's this many words long. The book has to be that many pages long. If you keep cutting like this, well, you're going to have trouble, aren't you, making it to the word count, the page count? Yes, you are. But the reader in the end, the audience in the end, is not going to think, oh, well, it's the right length, isn't it? No, it's fine, we'll put up with this bit. Cut it if it needs to be cut and then worry about the length afterwards. And I accept it might be quite a big worry, but it has to be in that sequence. If something can come out, it must take it out. I think this comes back down to what I was just saying about, does dialogue, for example, only convey the plot? Does walking to the supermarket only convey the supermarket? Find other things that can be going on, other things that matter. Can be incredibly subtle, but pile in a few of them and see what happens. I just read a thing where, how to explain this, I actually thought I had just barely a couple of things going on in the story, two characters having a conversation, and you knew certain things, but then towards the end of the book, although I've never referred back to it, I think you may suddenly realise what else was going on. I think that was a risk in a way, because there is an argument that scene on its own, when you come to it the first time, might be a bit flat, might be a bit dull. I hope not, but it could be. It becoming a shiver later when you realise what was actually going on. Well, I've obviously done it, so I think it was worth it, but I think sometimes, yeah, I might re-examine that. No, do you know I won't? Because the shiver is great. How many times do you get to write a shiver? This is one of the good things about editing, isn't it? You get to see the bits you like as well as the bits you don't. And I know I'm only concentrating on the bits you don't, because we want to get rid of them, don't we, for it. So we don't want movement that's unnecessary. We don't want anything that's unnecessary. We don't want... Actually, I tell you what, you saw me just check my notes there, and I'm a little surprised at something I thought of that I wanted to say to you that feels very different to this. Right at the start, I was saying about the overall look of something, the overall plot of something, that I didn't have anything to say to you about the bigger picture of it. I kind of do, ish. And let me end with this one, because it's a little vague. It's a bit optimistic as well. I suggest that before you even get to the editing stage, when you're doing the initial writing, you find the time of day that you write best. Short version is, for me, although I'm a night person by default, I find I write much better in the morning. So it's complicated what I found out, but you know, eventually I figured out if I write from about 5 or maybe 6 in the morning, then what I've written tends to be better, tends to need fewer edits later, or less editing overall for it. Maybe there's a time like that for you, and maybe that is a way that you can avoid having to do ruthless editing. If there isn't, though, please have a search through the 58 Keys Writing Workshop set of videos for an episode called the Halving Exercise episode. You will not like me at all when you've watched that, but I think you'll agree it's really useful. Anyway, if you don't like me now, or if you debate with anything now, you know what I want you to do. Please comment so that we can have a proper chat about this. I call this a writing workshop, but really it's a writing conversation. I look forward to having a chat with you about all of this, particularly if you have any more ruthless tips. Editing tips, great. Ruthless editing tips, essential. Okay? But for now, that's it for this 58 Keys Writing Workshop video. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was going to say thank you very much for watching, and of course I mean that, but also, I mean, I get to talk to you, you get to talk to me. I like it, but we've got to get back to the writing. Just tell you, pop off and do some real writing, get a cup of tea, and then come back and join me in the comments. Okay, that's what we should do, and I'll see you soon.